a roll call, please? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Present.
Mr. Seiler?
Here.
Mrs. Winters? Here. Mr. Mercado?
Present.
Present. We were in closed session with the Gibbons Law Firm representative and had discussions regarding updating the council on his research on gun range that has been an issue here in our township. And at this time, there's no additional information. They're continuing the research and continuing to come up with ideas.
Just that the session focused on possible pending litigations and issues of violation. That was the gist of the session, closed session.
We now have the first public portion. Anyone wishing to speak on agenda items only, please raise your hand. Come to the mic. Yes.
Good evening. Judy Cruz Murphy, 18 Aberdeen Drive, Ariel, New Jersey. I'm speaking on ordinance, let me see, 0-13-12. It's a new vision site. I had a couple of questions about the overlay. It's been rewritten a
We will
little
be
bit.
having a hearing on that.
Okay.
So if you want to wait for your comments for that time, we can call you up then.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? See no other hands, we can close the first public portion. Bid report, please.
Laura Blue Estates punch list repairs.
Motion to accept the bid report.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bain?
Yes. Minutes.
Waive the reading and accept the minutes, regular minutes, May 13th, 29th, June 10th, and 24th, executive session, May 13th, management workshop.
Motion to approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
I'll abstain from the June 24th minutes, but yes to the remaining minutes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bain?
Yes. We now have ordinances of second reading, and these ordinances will have a public hearing. Ordinance O-13-12. Ordinance of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, amending ordinance O-02-30, commonly known as the New Vision redevelopment plan to establish the New Vision residential overlay district. This ordinance will establish a New Vision residential overlay district. Ken, is there anything to add to that?
Here to answer questions as they're presented.
Okay. So this will now have a public hearing. Murphy.
Hi, I'm Judy Murphy, 18 Aberdeen Drive, Ariel. On number D, the general track requirements, the buffer, the minimum buffer 25 feet, at any point, can that be increased, or is that going to be the standard?
I believe that's the buffer, am I right?
It's a minimum buffer.
Is that including the utility lines that are part of that buffer,
And the buffer,
or outside of the utility lines?
I'm not familiar with utility lines on that property.
Like the back of our houses, that 25 feet was all utility lines, nobody could build on that anyway. And living in that area, we felt that the 25 feet wasn't enough, and wanted to find out if it would have gone to 50 feet.
Judy, this is, I believe, behind how many, there's not many houses this is behind. So this is closer to that little park
The
area.
park area.
Block 18302, lot 3, it's about approximately 23 acres behind Lowe's.
Correct.
So it only really affects
That
approximately
5 or
3 or
6
4
homes.
homes on Annapolis Drive.
Right. But for those residents,
It's the minimum of 25, greater, but start at 25.
I believe that with the yards and all that, the houses would be further away.
okay.
Now, Ken, this this will all go to the planning board, and the residents would have the ability to have discussion there as well.
The planning board reviewed the ordinance and has recommended approval. However, as a developer goes, or the redeveloper presents an application, anyone within 200 feet of the property within 105 present their case at the planning board for any comments.
But once you adopt this ordinance, these are the guidelines. So kind of increasing or changing any of those becomes an issue going forward.
Well, yeah, but I'm just scanning through it. I mean, usually in those type of developments, you have characteristic easement areas for emergency access or whatever that crosses the back. That would require distance from building to building, front, side, or back. So that all has some type of interplay with the 25-foot minimum setback buffer.
My other concern was let me see, E, the general development regulations, Part B, the accessory uses. Somewhere else in this, let me see, it goes that the maximum height is going to be 37 feet, yet some of the accessory uses, a community center, could be built back there. Maintenance for ground areas, which would also bring in trucks. And recreation vehicle storage units, those could be higher than 37 feet, am I correct?
No, I don't think so, Ken. All right.
No, the idea is the 37 feet is for townhouse development. All these accessory uses are the same accessory uses that are permitted in any residential zone district in the township. If you see section 422, it references an existing section of the land law that governs the types of accessory uses.
And in that accessory uses, there is number 8. It says minor home occupation as per standard 422. Can you tell me what that is?
Minor home occupation is, for example, if an engineer, myself, a planner wanted to have a home office in their home, and 250 square feet, they'd have a home office.
Okay, so within a residential.
That's permitted in all residential zones presently.
Okay. And then on the 37 feet for height, would that include a basement and 2 floors, or the foundation and 3 floors?
From grade to the midpoint of a gable roof.
Okay. That's all of my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, we close the public hearing. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
On the question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Yes. Ordinance O-13-13, ordinance of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, amending ordinance O-03-03, land development to amend the zoning map for tax block 13004, lot 1 through lot 14 along Lakeland Road. This ordinance will allow the rezoning of lands along Lakeland Road. Ken, anything to add to that? Or do you want to wait for any questions?
I could respond to any questions and elaborate.
Thank you. Now have a public hearing on this ordinance. Seeing no hands, we'll close the public hearing. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Yes. Ordinance O-13-14. Ordinance of the Township of Gloucester, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, amending ordinance O-0303, land development to repeal certain sections applicable to redevelopment plans adopted under NJSA 48, local redevelopment housing law. This ordinance allows the amendment of ordinance O-0303 for it to repeal certain sections applicable to redevelopment plans. We now have a public hearing on this ordinance. Seeing no hands, we close the public hearing. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
Question? Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mr. McConnell?
Yes.
Mr. Bean?
Yes. We now have resolutions of consent agenda. Any council person wishing to remove any of these resolutions, please let me know now. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mr. McConnell?
Yes.
Mr. Bean?
Yes.
213, resolution authorizing renewal of retail consumption liquor licenses in the Township of Gloucester.
This resolution authorizes renewal of retail consumption liquor license for the Freeway Golf. Motion to adopt.
So moved. Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mr. McConnell?
Yes.
Mr. Bean?
Yes.
214, resolution authorizing execution of agreement between the Township of Gloucester and Crisana Construction Incorporated.
This resolution authorizes agreement between the township and Christiana Construction for the Larwood punch list repairs. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Yes. Mr. McConnell?
Yes.
Mr. Bean?
Yes. We do not have a mayor report, and we do not have GTE government questions. We'll go on to the second public portion. If anyone wishes to speak on any subject, please raise your hand and come to the board. Yes, ma'am.
Jennifer O'Donnell, Erio. I came last meeting and had questions about two residents in Gloucester Township, and you told me that the zoning guy would get back to me. I gave him my phone number, and I never heard a word.
Okay. Do you have anything to add to that?
I investigated the properties, as I indicated in the previous meeting, and I expressed to you then that those properties is a group home. They're licensed by the state of New Jersey, treated as single-family homes, no different than any other single-family.
Okay, so that's for the house on New Brooklyn is considered the group home. I understand that. The house on Jarvis Road, is that also considered a group home?
I haven't been able to find any information otherwise, so I don't know. Called the state, they have not returned my phone call. Division of Human Services. So
I also noticed that on Y Mill Drive, there are two addresses, 10 and 12, that literally sit, there's no houses there, but they sit behind the disability home for the adults. It's an empty lot. Has that been subdivided?
yes, that's
Don't know, residents need to be notified when a subdivide occurs?
it. Depends on the subdivision. That particular one was a minor subdivision without variances, so they wouldn't be required to get
Where would access to those two properties come from?
Mine Mill Drive.
There's no, there's a skirt all along, the curb line is there.
Well, they haven't been developed yet, so they'll have to submit a grading plan to the township engineer, and they will review that,
Do you know what's going to be built there?
not to prevent it.
Would that go in front of the planning board?
Yeah, they just created the lots. They haven't submitted plans to actually build them.
Is it owned by the same company that owns the disability home that sits on New Brooklyn?
I would have to check the assessment records, or you can check the assessment records. I don't know who the ownership is.
Thank you. I just request that next time you tell me someone would call me, I would appreciate a phone call. Thank you, sir.
Yes, Paul.
Paul DiBartolo, Ohio Avenue, Blackwood, New Jersey. and I quote, "I'm very proud to say that for 4 years in a row, we are introducing a budget that holds the line on taxes." That was our mayor who said that a few months back. Now, I understand from the words of Mr. Cardis here, where it was noted that he said municipal tax bills could go up or down a bit based on whether there was an increase or decrease in the municipal rateable base. So, trying to therefore merge those two statements, I guess I need to understand that we're losing ratables because our taxes did go up.
There was a drop in the ratables, the assessors here, and you can comment on that. And all the time that we talked about the tax rate, I've always stated what I'm referring to as the tax levy, the amount to be raised by taxation, that has stayed the same through all 4 budgets.
Okay. But we're losing ratables then, which to me speaks of economic problems. Can we...
Well, I do believe there were appeals filed, and I think that was the genesis for the lowering of the ratables.
Chuck, you want to explain that?
Well, the issue that we have is that our rateable base has dropped by about $40 million over the last year, and that's attributed to various tax appeals, mostly commercial properties and residential areas, where since the revaluation in 2010, we saw a decrease in value, mostly due to foreclosures, and the prices of homes have dropped on short sales in those areas. So
Well,
obviously we've had to reduce this.
Well, when the prices of a home drops, I mean, I haven't received any reevaluation of my home since it was reevaluated up. So the prices have dropped, but I'm still paying more tax than I was.
Most prices have not dropped. There are certain areas where we have foreclosure areas, and state allows the assessments to be within plus or minus 15%. So for the most part, our values are like that.
So 40 million, that's a lot of money. You're telling me that is not due to a loss of business in the township?
It's contributed to most properties, the commercial properties and industrial properties are assessed on an income producing basis. Over the last 3 to 5 years, the income has not exceeded it at all while the expenses have gone up. So those properties, they take the properties into tax court, tax sale, or tax appeal, and that's why we lose it. You have to understand, $40 million on a $4.5 billion tax base is very minuscule, and what you're looking at is probably 0.08%, which increases the tax rate. So it's
Well, every little bit, I mean, I don't have as big of a budget as Gloucester Township. I mean, I understand that, but every penny has to be counted, and I'm sure everyone agreed to that. So
the tax rate that has increased is more attributable to the county and the schools than anything at the local.
well, I mean, they all went up. The municipal went up, the county went up, the school went up, and the regional school went up. They all went up.
Correct.
Except what we're making didn't go up. Now, this $5 million that, or give or take, that is given by the state to offset property taxes, where's that come from?
Well, that's the state budget. They're the one that prepare. They give you a certain amount of money in state aid. You look at the amounts, they have pretty much gone
So
down.
it comes from
It's gone
here.
down significantly over the
Comes from here, I mean, though.
Pretty much.
And how long do we really, I mean, we owe $17 trillion, that's our national debt. I'm not sure what New Jersey's debt is. I know Gloucester Township has what I consider a sizable debt. I mean, I look at this and I say, this gravy train has to come to a stop. Now, when that happens, are we going to get clobbered? Our debt is rising, and at some point, that money has to dry up. The state can't print money like the federal government can. So when that money goes away, do we have a plan? Do we think it's going to go away?
I handle the rateable base.
State aid has remained constant over the last 10, 15 years, same amount.
Good luck on that. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, Linda?
Linda Musser, Cameron Circle. Regarding the taxes, I too got my tax bill this past week and was very dismayed to see that the first and second quarter of next year, my taxes are going up $200 per quarter. Back in February, I received a little card from the township saying that our property was reassessed. I didn't go in for a reassessment, but and the property value on my home dropped $27,200. So at the time, I called the tax office to find out what my new taxes would be. And of course, they didn't have the budgets established yet. They didn't have the new mill rate yet. But just based on the information that we residents were given, the fact that the line was being held at zero on taxes, my understanding was, well, if the mill rate stays the same and my value went down by $27,200, if I based it on the same mill rate, my taxes would have gone down substantially. That didn't happen. We all know that the mill rate's going to go up. When I had, I was told that the mill rate hadn't been established yet, so I asked what the mill rate was for last year. They gave me that number, and that's how I calculated, if that rate had stayed the same, that my taxes would have as well. Of course, the mill rate went up, the municipal rates went up, 45.5% of our tax bill is are school taxes. But I guess the question that I'm trying to find out, and I wasn't able to get any resolution. I had called twice last week to the tax office, and I really need somebody to explain to me how, they're telling me your taxes went down. I can read, I can see that if in the third and fourth quarter of this year, my taxes are $1597.50 a quarter, and in the first and second quarter of next year, they're $1789.70. That is an increase.
Simply, you're comparing apples to oranges. You're comparing the 2013 rate to your 2014 rate. Your 2013 quarter, third and fourth quarter, shows your reduction retroactive to January. Your first half taxes are always an estimate based on one half of what you paid in 2013. So what I would look for you to compare to is your 2014 first and second quarter to your 2013 first and second quarter. Then you would see that there is probably a difference.
Okay.
Could be a difference.
So 2013 first and second quarter, I did pull that information out,
Okay.
and I paid $1981 in,
Quarter.
pardon me?
A quarter.
A quarter.
And how much are you paying now in your 2014?
On the 2014, $1789. But the value of my home also went down $27,000.
It's only probably about $700 a year, $600 a year.
Out of my pocket. And $27,000 of equity out of my home. That's substantial.
Well, that's argumentative at this point. What we just did, we reduced them based on the tax appeals with the county. If the county gave us the information, we reduced them proportionally.
And how did you determine which homes?
All of the homes were done in that particular development based on the information we received from the county board of tax appeals.
But how did they decide which developments they were going to?
Based on the appeals from the county board of tax appeals.
Based on the appeals from residents in the community?
The county board of taxation looked at all the appeals that were filed in one particular neighborhood. There was 30 or 40 appeals, that's what we're reviewing. And the county board of taxation made a decision that they were over-assessed by more than 15%, so they had to be reduced.
Right, but when I came in 2010 and argued that same point,
At the time, there wasn't that issue.
well, that's argumentable too. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Chuck, the taxes in that situation actually did go down.
Yes, in her particular situation, yes.
My mortgage payment went up, my taxes did not.
Pete Heimdall, Morningstar Court, Sibleyville. I have a couple questions. One, I requested from the GTMUA their audited financial statements. I made a request 3 times and haven't received a response. Is there?
From who?
GTMUA, with MUA.
And they haven't responded?
I sent an email, no response. I made a phone call and actually talked to a person and said they'd get back to me, never got back to me. I sent a follow-up email, no response. So 3.
Yes, of course. Tom, can you call them and them to send Mr. Heinenbaugh
They have my emails with the request details, so.
Tom will get all of them.
You're asking for the last completed audit.
My email, not exactly. I asked for the last 3 years of audit statements.
Can you send Tom that email,
So-
and he'll make sure they get it to you?
Yep.
Thank you.
Another question, but prior to last month's workshop, the last workshop meeting, I sent a document where I had some financial reporting suggestions. I did hear back from the clerk's office saying that Mr. Cardis would contact me to set up some kind of meeting. I haven't heard, and I did email Mr. Cardis. Haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I did review your email. I think you had 7 different items you were looking for. Basically, what it is you're asking us to create more reports. I'm still going to speak to the mayor about it, but that information is available to you now, that you can gather that information if you would like. You know the situation with regard to the township's finances. The past several audits going back 5 or 6 audits, no comments, no recommendations. Township meets compliance with the New Jersey Comptroller's Office on best practices. So a lot of that is covered, and covers the reports. There's a whole section in there about reports that are generated by the township. The township, through the CFO's office, reconciles the general ledger on a monthly basis. A lot of towns do not do that. We have reports that we can print out from the admin system, which was a state-approved software package for budgets. You're entitled to any of those.
Yeah, that's why I did want to meet with you. Some of the requests I made, I realized just on their face would create a lot of work. That's why I wanted to meet with you. If they can be easily, if we can tweak them and then easily extract them from the information that's in the system, I'd be happy with that. And that's why I wanted to get together.
Talk to the mayor when he's back. In addition to that, you know that we permanently finance capital. A lot of towns flood notes. We permanently finance. There's what's called an offering statement. That offering statement, the OS statement, has a lot of the information that you're requesting. So you can get a copy of that, go through that document.
What's that document called? I'm sorry.
Offering statement. It's a statement of the township's finances. It's meant to give to investors so that they can purchase our bonds in increments of $5,000.
Okay. Before I leave this topic, I just want to make one statement. I mean, the statements you present, they're always accurate, stand up to audit and everything, but they're documents meant for a township to talk to a state government bureaucracy. They're terribly unfriendly to, I'm an accountant, so I'll sit down and figure it out and go through it. They're terribly unfriendly for anyone else who would want to just know.
I'll give you another example. I think you wanted 20 highest expenditures per month.
Well, we can talk. Yeah, mine was
It's there, it's available. You can go through the bill list and look at any expenditure you want.
Okay, well,
You
we
come
can
to
strike
the
that.
office and you can review purchase orders. That's all available to you. And one other thing I'll add, the township's bond rating was just increased recently by Standard & Poor's. So, I mean, I get it. You're looking for more information.
No, I'm looking, no.
But
I'm
the
looking
observation
for more.
I'm
I'm looking
making-
for less, but just
Well,
better
The
presented.
observation I'm making is that it requires, it extends to work.
Well, I'm willing to change what I'm asking for to extract it directly from the system without more
I
work. That's-
report directly to the mayor and I'll talk to the mayor.
All right, thank you.
First, we had an unqualified opinion last time.
I'm talking about how unfriendly it is.
What he was referring to before, he was confusing GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, with GTM.
I wasn't confusing that. It was right on the audit report. They said you weren't compliant with GAAP. You were compliant with the state of New Jersey.
When you came to the meeting, you said GTM.
Okay.
Tom, can you just, once you talk to the mayor, get back?
I'm not talking about that we're misstating information. I'm talking about that it's a 96-page document. It's very user-unfriendly. It could be condensed to 10 pages, so with only useful information, not state of New Jersey bureaucracy requirement information. And just be better.
No, it's not. These are reports that he's looking at that he would like to see.
It's almost like a stockholder in a company wants to know the the financial status of that company. They're not handed the 1040 tax return of that company. They're handed a management financial statement that presents financial information in a way that's usable to a stakeholder. What's being presented to us that's given to the state of New Jersey, in my opinion, is not usable in that way as a stakeholder and not a government bureaucracy. Okay. Another topic, it's a larger topic of the whole open space. I brought this up a couple meetings ago about the open space money. I just want to ask a couple questions on that. Correct me if some of these statements are wrong, but in round numbers, we have the Gloucester Township Municipal Open Space Tax Levy that raises about $900,000 a year. Gloucester Township residents pay roughly another $900,000 per year for the Camden County Open Space Tax Levy. But that goes to the county. That doesn't come to us. Does the county come back and grant Gloucester Township?
We have applied for grant, right?
I mean, we've applied for grants, and sometimes we get back. Our grants office, Joan Miller, she assists in applying for a lot of the aid or a lot of the grants that come to the county.
I think we were awarded 50,000 for miles more, 50,000.
We chip in $900,000 to the county and get $50,000 back. Who gets them?
Well, part of that money, Pete, obviously goes to purchasing of open space, which they purchased the 500 or 700 acres, whatever it is over there. And so, I mean, and then the maintenance of those parks.
That's true.
So, that's a good piece of change there.
So this $900,000 of the Gloucester Township open space levy piece, and then plus whatever we are granted from the county. Does the state grant us any kind of open space? Is that
Just Green Acres grants, also the bike trail grants.
How is that accounted for by Gloucester Township? Is there a separate reserve or a separate fund?
Separate funds.
So it goes in, all receipts and expenditures are all...
Run for trust fund, individual accounts on each one.
And they're designated only for those
Absolutely.
situations, so. And that's in the state, in the budget, right, Tom? It spells it out,
It does.
what the revenue or what the grant is.
In the audit, it shows the audit. It's not part of the general fund budget.
Can I make an Oprah request or some such thing to ask for the receipt and expenditure details in that fund, in that open space fund?
Sure. Just send that to the clerk via an email, and she will get that information for you.
So related to all that, I mean, I'm going to look more at these details, but related to all that, is there this open space tax levy that for Gloucester Township for municipal open space. I know that was voted by the taxpayers earlier in the early 2000s. But from the answer I received last time I asked the question, there is no, correct me if I'm wrong, there's no sunset to this tax. It's perpetual.
Up to 2 cents.
No.
Is it ever being considered at some time to end this?
Not at this time, Pete, it's not. Again, those dollars help maintain the recreation and the properties that the township owns, as well as purchased.
Maintain, the Public Works provides the maintenance.
Right.
But it's not a way to just absorb this maintenance into the current Public Works. I'm just thinking this has been in place for over 10 years now, this tax. Maybe it needs to go on for another 5, maybe 10, I don't know. But at some point we should consider, if we're doing maintenance, it just should be absorbed into the Public Works budget. And if we're just cutting grass and emptying trash cans in these open space, or whatever we're doing, trimming trees, just absorb it into the Public Works budget and cut that $900,000 out of.
I mean, that sounds good, but Pete, there's more to it than just cutting grass and trimming trees. And there's buildings on there. We have the the property down off of Jarvis Road that we purchased years ago through, I think, Green Acres. And we've now opened that up, and the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, all kinds of individual groups are using that. But that needed to be, the lake needed to be repaired, the dam on the lake had to be repaired. So those things take dollars. And so there's a lot that goes into maintaining all these fields, as you know.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I want to request the details in this account, just to maybe ask the question again in a future meeting. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Joey?
Joanne Carr, Timber Birch. I noticed that the last minutes that were available were April 8th, and today we approved minutes starting in May. The calendar said there was a meeting on April 22nd. Are there no minutes available for April 22nd?
They weren't posted yet? Yeah, they weren't
I couldn't
posted.
hear that. I'm sorry.
No, she's saying they weren't posted, but they will be up tomorrow.
When were they approved?
May 9th.
Okay. All right.
She'll put them on the website.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Klein?
Patricia Klein, 1 La Jolla in Sicklerville. Glenn, I'm going to address this to you, okay? I have a little concern. I felt very uncomfortable when Tom came up to ask some questions.
You mean Pete?
St. Pete, I'm sorry. When Pete came up to ask some questions, very uncomfortable. Matter of fact, I felt, Glenn, that people who want to ask questions, you kind of shut them down. We have a right to ask the questions. I felt real uncomfortable because you kept saying he was asking questions that required additional information. If he sent an email, you should respond to his email. He has a right, wait a minute, let me finish. I see you getting puffed up, okay, calm down. He is entitled to have someone respond to his email. And you kept saying, yes, I received that information, yes, I received that information. But you did not respond to Pete's email. Several times Pete has come up, and he's come up with some really good questions. And you've made me feel uncomfortable for him. And he has a right to ask the questions. And I'm hoping that people here in Gloucester Township will begin to ask more and more questions and make you more and more accountable for things that are going on in the township. He has a right to ask the question. I just wanted to make that statement, Glenn, because I started feeling uncomfortable for Pete. And I think someone should have responded to him if he sent an email. That's the purpose of the email. That's why we have reply, so that you can respond to him. So I wanted you to know that some of the people out here may be intimidated based on your questions, your responses, I should say, and they should have a right to ask you any question that because you represent the people, am I correct? You represent the township, and if we have some concerns, we should have a right to ask those questions. I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
I'm not sure that it's clear to everybody the number of emails that went back and forth between you and I. Would you say that I was accommodating to your emails and prompt in getting back to you?
Yeah, over the months I've asked several questions via email and
Always responded and responded quickly.
Well, let me just make a comment, okay? I can't remember the meeting, but there was a meeting that Pete asked a question, and you said, I've never had a question, I never had a problem answering a question. You can come to me, you don't have to do it in a public forum. he has a right to do it in a public forum. And you made that statement. Yeah, I can pull the minutes. You made that statement to him, and he has a right to do it in a public forum. And because the public needs to know what's going on, whatever Pete may be feeling or whatever questions that he may have. You almost embarrassed him. And that's when people will not come out, will not reach out, will not ask questions when you embarrassed him. And yet that's what you did. And I can pull the minutes, because I know, you know what you said? What'd you say?
I said, I'm disappointed in you because you've always sent me emails and let me know ahead of time so I can gather the information for you.
You're disappointed.
I was disappointed.
You're disappointed. He can ask any question. See, you're out of control. You're out of control, Tom. But thank you so much.
Patricia, I just want you to know, we encourage the residents to ask any questions.
Yes.
And I think in Tom's defense is that he's saying, hey, you come to me for any of the information, I'll get that information. If I don't know, I'll get it. So we encourage all our employees when they are asked questions, whether it's Oprah, whether it's here, we will try and do our best to give you every single information that you want.
Well, he shouldn't have to come to him privately because
That's Pete's prerogative.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I don't believe anyone should have to come to someone privately. This is a public forum, and he should be allowed, and everyone else should be allowed to come and ask. And if we put you on the spot, the right answer would be, I don't have that information right now, but I'll get it. The right thing to do, wait a minute, the right thing to do is get the information. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Anyone else? Right?
Good evening, Council. Ray Paladura, Ariel. The one thing that Patricia had said is encourage more people to come up and ask questions. And you seem to have disagreed, you seem to have agreed with her to encourage more people. That didn't seem like the example last week when two of our council people shut down the first public portion. Would you explain which side of that you meant?
I encourage people to come up and ask questions. Council, together as a team, has a right if they feel that the question and answer portion is being redundant, if you will, and things are not, they're not new questions. As you know, we try to have everybody give their say or ask their questions before we try to bring up anyone else. If that questions are constantly being repeated, the same questions, then council sometimes will close it. But I think, Ray, and the amount of leeway that I give in people asking the question and people going beyond the 5 minutes and the 3 minutes, I think we've handled the open public sessions. We only need one. We have two. So we give people the opportunity in more than one way during a meeting to ask questions. I think we do encourage it, and I think we show that.
I'll agree that there are times when you are generous with the questions that come out and expand, and that's fine. It seems like when the subject matter gets heated, if there is a particular subject that a majority of the people of the township are interested in, they're going to have a passionate discussion, and passionate also can allude to a heated discussion. But on two separate occasions, we basically, you had stopped that conversation. Now, and I've always noticed your protocol is that you would ask for a motion. I don't remember you asking for a motion from the councilperson to make that motion to shut down the first public portion.
I believe Mr. Mercado asked to have a motion to close the public portion. Am I correct, Mr.?
Correct.
And so that was then second, I believe, by Mr. Hutchinson, and then we voted on that.
If the township as a whole is upset about a topic or an issue that concerns them, and there's a line of people here waiting to speak, are you going to set the time limit for that and discontinue that based on what you had just previously said, that you want to encourage more people to come up here and speak?
Again, I think the record shows, Ray, that we've allowed everybody to voice their opinion, ask their questions. So that's always been my goal. I've learned that from actually Councilman Seiler when he was president up here. I always go to Councilman Seiler and other previous leaders of council and to make sure that I'm doing the right things by the residents and in allowing them ample time and ample opportunity to express their opinions and ask those questions.
Do you happen to recall, I'm just testing your memory, when the public portion was shut down during a passionate discussion? Do you remember in any recent history when that occurred before?
The only thing I remember is I did shut down because voices were being raised, people were yelling, and I asked at that time that the chief empty the room for a short period of time to get tempers down, and then after 15 minutes we let people back in and we continued the meeting.
Okay. And that's kind of what we refer to as a passionate discussion, which can get heated.
Well, you know, Ray, we all have passions and there's a proper way to speak, and I don't believe yelling is the proper way of doing it. We may disagree on that, and when things get heated and possibly out of control, I will then take that moment and quiet it down, ask for people to leave, and then come back when everybody cools down and we can continue on. I did not stop anybody from making any additional comments after they came back, but I wasn't going to let the meeting get out of control.
All right. And some time ago, I'd asked you about a procedural thing that you might consider. You nodded your head and nothing ever came of it before. I'll bring it back up again, see if it interests you. At the end of the meeting, after the public portion and polling of directors, council gets to speak. I had also mentioned in the past, whereas maybe holding the public portion after the period of time in which the council has their say to the public, it would not only allow us to respond to what council says, but could allow for a dialogue, as the council people are also residents of the township, and create a dialogue which I think in an atmosphere like this would allow us to be able to have a conversation with the individual council people, as opposed to everything being directed and redirected, if you don't mind. Just a thought on that.
Yeah, well, at this time, we're going to stick with the same procedure that we have currently.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Jim Williams, 3 Tiffany, Ariel. Mr. President, members of council. I've missed a few meetings, so maybe this has been answered, but my question is on I think it was the pipeline that came from the MUA pipeline that we sold to, or whatever, however we did it, with Winslow Township. And the streets, since I live in Ariel, were just an absolute mess. We couldn't, I mean, number one, it was that they were, traffic was disrupted, detours were in place, we're going all over the place. Then whenever it was open, I mean, just holes, and it was an absolute disgrace, which probably needed to be done. My question was, and after this was all said and done, and this happened during I want to say during the winter months, around Christmas, just after that. Now nothing's being done, and now there's the least amount of traffic in the summertime that we had then. My daughter works at Chew School, and she was going, mother of God, by way of 42 and coming back up the Black Horse Pike and coming in back way, and I know because I was a babysitting my grandkids an hour and a half before she was supposed to be at school. First of all, I'm just wondering, are the roads going to be, I mean, they're still a mess. Are the roads going to be done, or are they going, is it going to be blacktop? Are they going to be cemented? But after this was all said and done, after these big, huge black pipes were laid, then there were, and I don't know, I'm just a layman, then these yellow pipes were put down. And this was like about 2 to 3 months after the fact. And they started digging up everything again along the curbs. and putting these yellow pipes, and we were all disrupted again, going everywhere, all over the place. I'm just wondering if there's something in place to fix the roads. That's all I'm wondering.
As you know, those roads are county roads, so the township doesn't have a whole lot of say on what's going on. But I did talk to the director of the County Public Works earlier, actually earlier this month today, and they're requiring that the owner of the project, which is the Camden County Municipal Utility Authority, who's putting all the pipes in, to repave the road curb to curb. You know, they started that on New Brooklyn Road. I talked to the CCMUA engineer last week. I think it started down at Berlin Cross Keys Road, and they're planning to be up as far as the Imperial Clemington Road by the end of July. Now, this is a week old information. I'm going out to check, so I don't know if it meets your schedule or not. And that's all you can give me at the time when it's a current schedule. Ultimately, they do hope to have all the roads undisturbed except for the problem they're having right out front here before the school starts out, but that's pretty ambitious. I'd be surprised if they get that far along, but that's what they're attempting to do. But they will be paid curb to curb.
I have another question. Well, if that's the case, but if the county roads, when Winslow Township tapped into our MUA, I think, or something, who got paid for that? What happened?
County MUA
Yeah.
is broken the lines that they flow from Winslow areas that need to be served to the pumping station down here near Jews Landing to be pumped to Camden County, to the Camden County people from Landing Camden. It's completely, the township really has nothing to do with it. They're not tied into any township lines. This is, it just so happens Gloucester Township is between Winslow and where the sewage has to go. So that's why we've had to put up with
So there's no accountability on that. I mean, county is county, and we just sit by and watch
Well,
them, I guess,
I
right?
know the mayor's had a lot of discussions with the county engineer, which is one reason we're getting it paved curb to curb. Initially wasn't going to be, it's just going to be the trench area.
What lines are the yellow lines? Are the yellow pipes? What
I don't
are
know
they?
the yellow pipe. It might have been gas lines. I know once they put the large sanitary lines in, some of the other utilities had to.
Originally, they put in big black ones, and then just back behind the firehouse, they had these little yellow lines, and they started coming down along and bringing them in, and then by the super wall across from there, they went back and they were putting in these yellow lines, and they were cutting from the street into some of the property lines, not in the street itself, but into the property lines.
Might have been gas main, new gas main. I'm really not sure. I'm just.
Now, when they store those great big black pipe, and they were on property, like how far in can they go? Because they were on people's property in the front of,
Well, they should have been. They may have, but I don't have any control over that. I presume they got pressure from property owners.
the easement, but they need to pay for it, I guess, right? All right. But there's anyone that we can put pressure on them or to help us out in an area?
Mr. Williams has been in constant contact with the county. We changed an ordinance so that anybody had structure, so that anybody who rips into any of the roads within our boundaries, they have a limit of how much they have to pave if it's not past the center line, because otherwise they would have just paved that little area. So we made some changes to protect the township and to make sure that our roads are brought back whole. So because of that, they are doing the whole road instead of half of the road. And the ones where I guess they cross over the center line, they have to do the whole road. So I know John, as our township engineer, and the mayor in his office are constantly in contact with him. And John, I would just ask maybe if each week you can give us an update so that the residents are here could know what's going on.
The county wants to cooperate with the township. Of course, I've got money concerns too, but they do want to cooperate with the township, and we are getting cooperation. It's a slow process.
I know.
16 feet deep, so it takes forever.
Who plays the police officers that are protecting them on both sides?
The construction company pays those salaries if they need police officers. Am I correct, Chief?
Yes.
One quick question. I was coming down about a week ago down across or down where the Super Wawa is by the Acme, and someone ran down 3 of the geese that were crossing the street. And then there was also a deer that was was laying on the side of the street. Is there a number that we could call if we see someone or these animals that are laying in the street, or to kind of pick them up? Do we have something within the township itself?
We call the police, am I right?
Correct, our dispatch center.
The police, you call the police, not 911, but the main number, and then they can, they'll call someone that can go after it. We have a contract.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello.
Is it Joan Hughes Aerial Road in area? Is there any information on the halfway house at 1480 Jarvis Road, which is less than a quarter-mile from Union Valley Elementary School?
What information are you looking for?
What is it? What exactly is the home for? Who is going to be in this home?
Is that the home Ken you were talking about earlier?
I don't have any information on anything. I have no information on that address.
Did you call the state?
I called the Division of, I think it's Division of Health and Human Services. I've left a message with them to return my phone call. I identified who I was, why I was calling, because I wanted to get a list of all properties in the township that are licensed community residences, because we can get credit from our affordable housing. I already have not returned my phone call. I'll try again tomorrow.
Chief, they don't have to register those houses, do they, Chief?
No.
So when will we find out what's what about the house?
Well, can I ask the question?
Sure.
How do you know of this residence being a halfway house? 'Cause
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Everyone got notices, and that's what I'm here about.
I don't know.
And I rode past it, and
Have a
it's
copy of that
empty.
there? The clerk have a copy of that?
Who's the clerk?
You could give it to the clerk.
Can I get it back?
Now? Well, I can't make one.
Okay, but that's what I'm here about, because
Well, you know,
who's
I don't know
going to
who
be
put
in
that
this?
flyer out.
Okay,
So, but we will check into it for you.
Okay,
If you want
because
to leave
I've-
your number with the clerk, we will, as soon as we get information, we'll definitely get back to you.
I've ridden by the house plenty of times, and it looks a mess. But what kind of people, you know, who was going to be in this
I've
halfway
been by,
house?
Mr. Chairman,
Nancy's going to make, Nancy, can you make a copy for us, please?
Council President Bianchi.
Yeah.
I have been by the property. I have not seen any vehicles of any sort.
I have.
I checked the ownership, seems to be an individual owner's name. But I can tell you, as I indicated earlier, that community residences for the developmentally disabled, people with head injuries, people who are mentally challenged, and there's victims of domestic violence, they're considered community residences. They are treated as single-family homes by the state of New Jersey. Just like you don't have to notify your neighbors that you moved into your neighborhood, you either do that. And that's how they're treated. It's the same as
Okay, so
single-family.
it's mentally disabled and brain
No,
injured?
he
I
didn't
don't
say
know.
that.
There's several categories. I'm not sure who is at 480, but if it is a community residence,
Or it's not like for drug addicts or murderers or whatever? That's what I wanted to know.
We don't know, and we will find out for you.
Okay, so-
Attempt to find out. I mean, is there what I'm understanding, Ken, is this home doesn't come to Gloucester Township and say, hey, I want to set up shop in your town. We don't have jurisdiction over them. There could be many in the town, we wouldn't know, because they don't come to us and say, can we? So my question to you is, if this is a home that we have no jurisdiction over, and you're making a phone call to the state, who are you going to call at the state?
well, if you go to their website, they do have a page for municipal officials, and they do advise us that and I know this, the Council on Affordable Housing, you have an affordable housing plan, we can get credit. Usually it's 2 to 1, so if there's 6 beds, we can get 12 units of affordable housing credit for these group homes. So I had left a message with them, basically, the Director of Community Development and Planning, we want to know what homes in Gloucester Township are licensed as community residences, so we can put them in our affordable housing plan and get credit for that.
So this, in other words, it's an affordable housing house,
Wow.
which is for, I don't know, I must be thick, I
Going to
still can't.
confuse you two different things. Community resident, the one on New Brooklyn Road is community residence.
This is Jarvis.
I don't know what's at Jarvis Road, but as I said before, they're not required to give us notice that they're having a group home. Just like I didn't have to give notice to my neighbors that I'm
I understand.
German
Yes.
ancestry and I'm going to move in.
I understand that, but what kind of people are going to be in the house? That's what I'm asking. And especially, it's right down the street from the elementary school, and so we don't know, in other words.
You're entitled to look at the website as well, the state of New Jersey, and inquire with them.
I guess, but if you can't get any information, then I guess.
Well, I
would-
gave him a week, and so I will contact them again tomorrow to see if they return my phone call.
We'll do the very best we can.
Okay,
with
so
information.
what do I call the township to see? Well, did you get any information? Like, how do I?
Again, you could leave your number with the clerk, and we can get back to you as soon as
Call
we
the
get
township,
it.
you can call me, I return all my phone calls.
Okay, because I thought, that's why I came. I thought I was going to get some answers and nothing. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Sorry, my name is Ashley. I grew up in Gloucester Township.
Sure.
My parents live in Gloucester
Can you
Township.
give us your full name, please?
Oh,
and your
sure,
address?
Ashley Leary, Leary.
And your address?
6 Torrington Drive, Ariel, New Jersey. That's how I got this flyer. It's actually my parents' residence now. I only came, I am not a spokesperson for what this is, but apparently it looks like a little bit of a witch hunt by the misinformed who are misinformed by the misinformed. It is not a halfway house on Jarvis Road. It is an Oxford house. An Oxford house is something that has no ties to the state. They are protected under federal law. I understand the concern about it being so close to an
Ma'am, can you
elementary
address us,
school.
please?
Sorry. I understand the residents' concern for it being so close to an elementary school, but to answer some questions about the kind of people who live in an Oxford house and what an Oxford house is. People seek treatment for drugs, rehabilitation, inpatient, outpatient. Not everyone has somewhere to go, I'm sorry. So NA, which is Narcotics Anonymous, which is an outside enterprise, we decline, contributions, we support ourselves, fully self-supporting. Fund these Oxford houses, we have a chair, meetings, a board, just like your council meetings. We interview people before they're accepted into these houses. They're drug tested weekly. They're mandated to make NA meetings to make sure they're keeping up on their recovery. They're mandated to get jobs and become productive members of society. Now, as far as why the concern about it being so close to the elementary school, I didn't know if that had anything to do with sex offenders, because I know, that would have been my mom's first thought. She said, well, maybe that's what they're worried about. But as you know, you can go online, and anybody, because of Megan's Law, that's a registered sex offender, you can see their location, their address, and where they live. You should be able to get information on that because it should have been advertised legally that it was going to be an Oxford house. They have their own way of doing things. I don't sit on the Oxford chair, so I'm not sure what it is. But I saw these plastered all over Gloucester Township, and it was a little upsetting because I know it's just because of ignorance and not knowing, and I understand that. And addiction is a really terrible, ugly stigma. But all NA does is show addicts how to live a better way of life. It's a 12-step program with no substitutions to get off of drugs. I don't know how else to explain it. I've been to the home. I participate with other members in NA. Like I said, I can't speak for everyone. The men, that is a man, it's a male Oxford house, no women live there. They had their autonomy. They're autonomous in their decisions, and I can't speak for them. But I came because I kind of felt like residents are getting the wrong idea about this, and they're feeling a little threatened. There's really not a threat. I mean, if they saw anything happening or going by the school, they'd be the first person to contact the police department. These are people in recovery trying to better themselves. They're productive members of society. I was under the impression actually 2 people from Oxford Chair were going to be here tonight to answer any questions. I only came as a resident and I came as an addict. So, I only know what the program did for me. I'm a productive member of society. I have a college education. And on the outside, I have a great job and a great car and a nice home, and nobody would think that, so you don't know who your neighbors are. So, I don't know, that's all I wanted to say. You don't know who your neighbors are, you don't know what their character defects are, and I feel like this is just defamation of character. I understand the concern for your kids and your neighbors and your property values. Shouldn't do anything for your property values. I've never heard anyone say, I'd like to take the Section 8 before I take, a house that helps people become better members of society. But that's what I was getting with this. Why weren't we notified? I don't know. As far as I know, they do advertise it, and it should be done legally, and that's what protects them under federal law. I can get your email, and I can actually give you the number of the Oxford Chair directly. He can answer all of your questions. Answers. NA has a website. It could tell you all about what it is. Like I said, NA is its own fellowship, declines outside contributions. Why it's different from a halfway house is because halfway houses usually accept assistance from institutions or the state for the developmentally disabled. That's not what this is. It's not what this is. It's just people helping one another. They're mandated to have jobs. They're mandated to give drug tests. They're interviewed, an interview process before they're even accepted to live in the house. And I've never known a sex offender to live in an Oxford house. But, as far as I know, they can't discriminate either. But that's a totally different issue, and there's a website for that. So I just didn't want people to run with what they were finding out online, what they were reading online about a halfway house, because it's not a halfway house. And my mom would have been one of the people posting these flyers, I'll be honest, until I was a good kid and then I ran into a bad crowd too. So I pray that the people who are putting up the flyers don't experience that with their own children, because when they do, they're going to have some empathy for the fact that their kids are going to need somewhere to go that can help them. And that's all I got. I hope I was able to shed some light on the issue. I can get with you after the meeting to give you information.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Can I take the questions here? How many people would stay at the house?
I think there's 5 or 6 there. There's different Oxford houses all over. Cherry Hill has 3 of them. Some house 5 or 6. There's a maximum capacity. They have to be inspected by fire marshals. They get a regular COD that's mandated by the township. So they follow the same rules that any other single-family home would follow. It's just, like a fraternity minus all the alcohol and parties. If it's getting loud, it might be because it's a barbecue. But I know the people that live there. I know the people that are part of other Oxford houses. And for the neighbors that are worried, knock on their door, introduce yourselves, because if there's something they could do to help better the community or the immediate neighborhood, they would love to. That's what we do. We participate in, anything we can. Sturbridge Oaks is right in front of that house off of Jarvis Road, the back of the development. That's where I grew up. That's where I saw all these flyers plastered around. And it's funny because that area lately has been deteriorating as far as drug use, drug dealers, and I only know because you have to be blind not to see it. So I understand the concern, I do, that's a really big deal. That would scare me too, because of the stigma that addiction has and halfway houses are a little scary, but they have nothing to do with Narcotics Anonymous or Oxford houses. It's a totally separate outside issue. We're fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions, but we do participate when we can. It's up to the individual. I can't speak for anybody there. They're autonomous, but I did let them know I was going to be calling to voice my opinion because I grew up in Gloucester Township, and you know, it's a really good town. I find that the police do what they can to you know, keep it safe and make it better. And if I honestly thought, because like I'm going to have kids someday and I grew up there and it being so close to a school, that these people who are only trying to better their lives and be productive were really a danger to any kids or other human beings, you know, but everyone has their opinion, and I just wanted to shed light on the issue. If I didn't, I'd be happy to give you their contact information. Those would be the people that could answer all the residents' questions.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Joan Hughes again. I don't think you should be upset at us for getting all the flyers. Now, maybe if you would, because we didn't know anything about this, now if you would have maybe put a sign up and saying who you are, and we're going to have a meeting and introduce ourselves, fine.
But we don't have to.
Well, okay, well, that's what I just
I
learned,
think
okay.
the counselor stated that they're not required to put an application or anything. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Donna Leonardis, and I live at 1500 Jarvis Road, right next door to these nice young men. And they've been there for about 18 months, and they have never been a problem up until, and by the way, I never got a flyer. I found out through word of mouth about this. So that's why I'm here to support them. So, and I don't think you need to put up a sign and ostracize people who choose to live sober. And that's their choice to be there. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, we close the public portion. Polling of directors and council, please.
Mr. Moffett?
I have nothing to report at this time.
Mr. Lechner?
I have nothing to add, thank you.
Chief Earl?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Mr. Cardamere?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Cantwell?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Carter? Mr. Hutchinson?
Thank you very much for coming this evening. I want to congratulate the young lady who spoke up with regard to the house. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to make those types of statements in public.
Please.
I'll think about everything that was said with regard to the house this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Seiler? Mrs. Winters? Thank you for coming out. Mercado?
Thank you for coming out. Have a good evening.
I'd like to thank all the residents for attending tonight's meetings, and I think, Ms. Leary, I commend you for coming and allowing us to learn about the house there and putting yourself out to give us information. As the chief knows, we formed a committee and looking at drug addiction along with people from school systems and other individuals. People who don't understand drug addictions or any addictions don't really understand what it is to have a child or a loved one who has that situation. It's probably one of the worst. I'm in healthcare, everybody knows I'm in healthcare, and it's probably one of the worst treated diseases that we have in our society. They are shunned, almost like mental health patients, and these individuals need help. They're not funded. Insurance companies don't want to help them, and I'm telling you that the access to drugs and different types of chemicals in our society is at an epidemic crisis. And if anybody thinks that there's one way or some magic thing that's going to happen, this is a society issue that we all need to work together and to assist these individuals, because it's only getting worse. And I applaud the chief who recognized it. We have programs. People could take their medications, don't leave them at home where they could be taken, stolen. And we are working on a program that I asked the chief and the mayor to, let's get together to look at Gloucester Township, and then if we find a solution or some little tidbit of information, that maybe we could spread it to the next couple towns, to the rest of the county, and hopefully to other counties in other parts of the state. This is serious, and to have you come in front to put yourself out there, I applaud you. I applaud you. It's very, very difficult. With that, I ask that we have a motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Good night.
Watch you do this again, just like I did.
You have your key, right? Didn't I give you a key?
Yeah, you did.
It's fairly simple.
Yeah.
Were you able to pick up my